This is just mad.
Good ladies, they have a swimming costume on in a freezing cold weather. There's a nun dressing up.
It is the most insane sort of nonsense you're ever likely to see.
Well, they're kind of sunbathing.
There's these nuns
and they get
chucking water over one side of the bridge and then going and collecting it again.
From the other side.
Something's going to happen, isn't it?
It's mind-boggling.
Hold on there. I'll come give you a hand.
Oh no, and there's people in the Saracens on the windowsill rehearsing like a Romeo and Juliet scene. Oh, and here's the lady who's driving in the car. Hello. Hello.
As soon as I heard it was a river show, I said, right, I want to be a mermaid. And it was great because the three people that went off and chatted about it came out and said, right, you are a mermaid. So that was brilliant fun.
We were given the freedom just to be able to make up any old bizarre thing we wanted to. And I don't know, this was like an extraordinary thing to do. It's something I've never done before.
I'm fed up of walking to the Bowling Green and back.
It's the tech tonight, the technical rehearsal, which is pretty tense because the show has grown and grown. It's so complicated technically, musically. There's fire on water, there's motor launches with the Queen in, and we've just got to see how they work. And we've got to rehearse that tonight.
The first thing I'd like to ask you is please, if you have a mobile phone, turn it off.
I'm just putting the fish in there so that when the cats come by, the tour guide opens it up and the fish is singing in there.
While we were rehearsing, I would say that's where we've picked up the non-theatre types and made them appreciate theatre, because we'd be on Castle Green or wherever during the children's summer holidays rehearsing scenes and attracted a huge amount of attention from them, which was good because normally they'd just be hanging around, getting bored, getting into trouble, doing nothing in particular, and they'd come over and watch a 10-minute piece of theatre and actually really appreciate it. And I've seen some of them since in the evenings in the audience, so that's quite rewarding for everybody.
The bloke just standing on the wall saying, what do you think of this building? He asked me what it all meant and I said I didn't know. It's really funny. I seen it a bit yesterday when I was riding past. It's really great.
We pick up people on the way, and we're obviously picking up people that are just out for an evening stroll. And we've had a lot of young kids hang around Castle Green and the river here in the evenings. And we've picked up a sort of collection of groupies on the way. They've followed us nearly every night. During dress rehearsals and through bad weather, they've stuck with us. They know, I mean, I think they could understudy, both Mia and myself.
Shedding inhibitions and gaining strength.
Having everything we use at every point you have to pick up and take with you, or organise someone to pick it up and take, because you can't leave anything because it's all public place. And the amount of padlocks and keys we've got for people's different land and property.
And we're not totally used to this, are we? I mean,
no,
because we're designers. It's usually at this point in the show we've done all the designing, all the bits and pieces are made, and it's off. The show's kind of off and running, and you can watch it then. But on this, you're in it and doing all the stage management stuff, which I've never done before. And you're running around like a fool.
We knew that Rachel and Hayley were on the project, and we thought they would make two lovely nuns. So they became the two nuns.
Job titles actually mean nothing. If a job needs doing and you're available, do the job to get the show up, which is fantastic. It's a good way of working.
We're doing timings and seeing if people can get everywhere in time. We need an actor on the bench right now, and obviously the way this has been moving quite quickly, he hasn't had time to get there, so we'll just see if he can come soon.
I'm waiting for Janine here to get through the meditation sequence so that I can lasso the wooden bulldog with this in my role as Edward Elgar.
That late afternoon is a particularly beautiful light, particularly along the river here where you've got these incredible beech trees, and I think we've made the mistake of putting it on too late in the year. It should have been mid-August, both in terms of the amount of daylight and also the kind of warmth. And I feel quite bad about that because I think the project would have been less frustrating had we done it earlier in the year.
Okay then. We'll be with you in probably 45 minutes. Thanks, bye.
Good flashlight torches, because at least then when people are speaking.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a tech, as a joke.
As a joke. Technical rehearsals are always difficult. Doesn't help that the first half I've seen and know what's going on technically. The second half, again, I haven't seen what it will look like when it's lit, which is a problem, as it's the dress rehearsal tomorrow.
Sure, no.
The lighting on this project has been very difficult. We went with the idea of tractor batteries and flashlights in a Tesco's trolley, which actually works remarkably well. But I've never done anything like this before, and it's been a hugely sharp learning curve for me.
When I arrived, the team had it in mind that I should hurry from one venue to the next in between my singing moments in the show, and we tried it, and I had to explain to them that if I was to race there I wouldn't be able to sing when I got there because I would be out of puff, and so in the end we had to organise it that I drove myself there around Hereford, although it was rather a long-winded way of doing it. So there are requirements that you have when you're singing which are different from speaking.
So this is the final show, so it's going to be interesting because I haven't seen it at all yet during the run, and I sent off the script and heard a few things about rehearsals, and now I'm here on the last night, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the show.
Bandemonium was originally set up by the Community Music Charity 9 years ago. It's an open access band, that is to say anybody can join at any time for any length of time, and it plays, it's mostly acoustic apart from having electric bass, and it plays a repertoire of strong melody from all over the world. There are people who've been in it for 9 years, and there are people who joined us a few days before this show. And there are people who are very experienced at playing their instruments, and there are people who really have just taken them up or just started playing them again after a long gap. But it works. Somehow or other, it works.
It's great fun to do, and what's wonderful is that you've always got an audience. Whenever we're doing stuff, the public are walking past and asking about it. You know, we can always tell them what's going to happen. And you know, places like the Saracen's Head, the pub over there, have been fantastic. Here we are on the left bank, and you know, it's really, you know, all sorts of places. The cathedral school, people's front gardens. You know, I mean, vast, different variety of people.
Yeah, he's got a list of our times and he should be there waiting for you. Over.
We actually did do some very deep academic research on the history of the Wye and all the ins and outs and all the goings on. It's an extraordinary river. I mean, we got the sewer coming out in the middle of the thing. I hope they've incorporated that somewhere. But I think there's been a few liberties taken in the best possible taste, of course.
Right, here we go. Thank you. Right, gather round, pilgrims. Gather round. That's it. Right, now, we'll start with some introductions. Now, my name is Ivor Crabbe. Say, hello, Ivor. Hello, Ivor. No, I said say hello, Ivor. Hello, Ivor. Oh, that's more like it. And this lovely lady over here is my wife, Mia Crabbe. Say hello, Mia. Hello, Mia. And this goodly youth is my assistant and nephew, Vernon. Yes, say hello, Vernon. Hello. Hello, Vernon. No, you don't say it, they do. You see, right. Right, now, I have entitled this little walk, Why Walk? Why walk? Well, because walking is good for you, and who knows what you may encounter on the way. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye. See you later. Drive carefully. Yes, darling. Right now, pilgrims, have you all got your squirrels and your raccoons? Yes, you have. Hold them aloft for Ivor. Marvellous. Right, now, pilgrims, the first part of our walk, we are going to begin over there by the Saracen's Head, our first station, so to speak. We'll be crossing by the Old Wye Bridge, which is so called because it's old, circa 1490, and the river that flows beneath it is called the Wye. Now, there'll be lots more interesting facts like that as we go along. I promise you. Right, pilgrims. Now, do try and keep up in single file across the bridge, or as my old Sunday school teacher, Mr. Gilpin, used to say, don't dawdle, dilly-dally, or drag your heels, children. I can't abide a straggler. Well done, Vernon. This way.
Generally, things work quite organically. 3 or 4 people throw ideas into the general pool. You know, the production is every bit as much the result of Ellie making suggestions, or Gary or Ian. I might make musical suggestions. It's, you know, people don't necessarily stick strictly to their so-called departments, and that's is a very creative way of working.
Oh, wonderful.
So we were given a script, I don't know, about 40 pages of facts about Hereford and little spots along the Wye here. And we had great fun in actually editing it and putting in our own sort of bizarre, kind of surreal comments about it. So that was great fun for us. It was just like having a great big playtime ourselves.
It was cutting and devising at the same time as we used Patrick's text as a basis. I mean, I'm interested in working collaboratively with the performers because they were creating their own roles, therefore they had to have the same what the text was.
Right, now here we are at the Saracen's Head. In fact, some historians believe that the famous Mappa Mundi is nothing more than a kind of medieval AA road map to the Holy Land. No wonder, then, that so many crusaders got no further than Calais. Now, the lady up there is Verity St. Just. That's Mia's sister and Vernon's mother. As you can see, she's an opera singer, and she's preparing something a little bit special for us later on. That's enough now, Verity. Verity! Verity! Little temperamental, runs in the family, right? Mia's quite like that. Now, pilgrims, I want you to look at this wall. All right? Could you suggest, pilgrims, what this building might have been used for? Come on, put up your hand. Don't be shy. Chocolate factory. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Nothing like it. No. I think you'd better give them a clue, Vernon.
There once was a woman from Clyde who ate a bad apple and died. It drove her demented when the apple fermented and made cider inside.
Day before rehearsal, we discover that Victoria Bridge is closed because it's got a big hole in it. 2 years planning, over 700 people involved in this project, and you can't go over the bridge. Absolute nightmare. So what do we do? We come up with 3 ideas. First one is the Tyrolean ferry, and you pull yourself over on a raft on wire. Cheap, but actually imagine getting 60 odd people on a raft. It'll take a while. Second idea was you can actually hire a whole bridge on wheels, which they use at the Royal Welsh Show. And we looked into that in some depth, but actually the bridge isn't wide enough for the stretch of the river. Third possible solution, a scaffolding bridge built to measure to go over the bridge and land up at the right height the other side. We've got temporary permission from the Environmental Agency, as long as it's the right height and so on. Well, the council are so shamed, I think, that a mere theatre company can come up with a solution to a hole in the bridge, that they have agreed they will definitely get it repaired by our dress rehearsal. We are worried and slightly sceptical, but it will save us an awful lot of money and an awful lot of hassle. So fingers crossed, let's hope that it works out.
Yeah. All right. You want to come with me? This way. Here we go. Right. Now, pilgrims, as you can see, Hereford Council have made adequate provision for not drowning by a series of strategically placed life belts. Yes, you young groover, right. Now, do not worry, however, pilgrims, because I can assure you that Vernon here has a bronze medal in life-saving skills.
People have been really responding well to us as well, and really interested, you know, along our journey when we're setting and things like that. Because we've been in it, we haven't been able to observe the show at all.
I'd like to see it all now. That's what I want to see.
Beginning as a gurgling baby brook, 2,200 feet above sea level on Mount Plinlimmon in central Wales, then plunging rapidly downhill like an impetuous youth, shedding inhibitions and gaining strength as it tumbles from a brook to a stream to a fast-flowing river. 154 miles of silvery serpentine twists and turns, until finally, not unlike our own good selves, pilgrims, it starts to widen in the middle. Such is the life story of our beautiful river, but as we have seen, pilgrims, beauty will exact a toll. As an old-timer close to this very spot once remarked, "Or, it's a beautiful river, all right, but I once knew a beautiful woman." She was a right bitch. Thank you, Vernon.
Every bit of the performance is so immediate. You come up with an idea and you think it's funny on the spur of the moment, so you do it. And it's been worked on within 2 weeks, which I think makes it so fresh when the rest of the audience come round, because they get that. I think they must get that immediacy that it's all come from, rather than things turning stale.
I am good at relaxation. I have studied relaxation with some of the best relaxers in India, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. See how relaxed I am. Oh, stars. And exercise. Are you ready? This section first. On your tippy toes. Up, come along, up, up, up. Hands up to the gods. High-pitched squeak. Ready? Go. Very good, you're improving. Okay, now you, on your own. Come along, over here. Come here. Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to do a little dance round you when you do it. Okay, ready? Go.
tari, choo choo tari, something.
Once more, all together we call to the great goddess Tara. Hence together, we all know this one now, and Om Tara tutta tari turi so ha! Om Tara tutta tari turi so ha! Alma! Om Tara tutta tari turi so
A small statue on a canine theme, reminding us of the charming tale of Elgar, the great composer, and Dan, the English bulldog. Now, Sir Edward loved Harefoot, couldn't get enough of it. And it was while out walking with a friend and his dog that we can observe true genius at work. For it was the enthusiastic barking of Dan the bulldog, noisily drying himself after a plunge in the river, that prompted his master to challenge Elgar to include Dan's unusual musical offering in his great composition, the Enigma Variations. And if we listen carefully, pilgrims, it is almost as though we can hear the strains of the great master himself wafting across the river on an autumnal breeze, reminding us of Dan and his own little piece of immortality. Marvellous. Let her on! Right now, pilgrims, I'd like you to imagine the coal barges or trows going along the river, flat-bottomed and keelless, pulled by teams of men. Just imagine them like mighty beasts of burden, their bare, muscular chests glistening with sweat. I don't know about you, but I get thirsty just thinking about them on the job. Perhaps I ought to rephrase that, Vernon. What do you think? Yes? Should I work on that? Yes, my concentration is being sort of thwarted a little. Could you just hang on, pilgrims? I won't be a moment. Vernon! Go and do some yawning. Shame. It's all part of his training. He'll deal with it. Let's take a moment to reflect, to recover ourselves. And as we stand on this sloping greensward, let us listen to the gentle plashing of the water. Step back with me through the mists of time. Step back with me and imagine, if you will, a soft, seductive breeze blowing from the west and shining on the shimmering, silent waters of the Wye. Aha! But what is that ghostly, deadly cry? And who or what is that pale, female figure dressed all in off-white? Another cry. Aha! Once heard, never forgotten, like a she-wolf howling at the moon and mourning for her lost mate, whose savagely torn pelt has been nailed to the door of the rapacious hunter. Do not be alarmed. For it is none other than our very own off-white lady of Rotherwas.
two very natural stages in the form of the steps down to the river, with a costume that covers all those steps, which sweeps after me, and then a boat to step into and to be rowed away for real. I mean, these are things that you dream of in an opera production, you know, to create that impact theatrically. And likewise, to be right underneath a real Gothic archway in the cathedral portico, again, has got a lot of presence, and it helps me to sing. I mean, those things add to the atmosphere for me. I mean, they make it easier, not harder, to perform.
Come on, pilgrims, this is all of you now. On the bench we march along. On the bench we march along. Pilgrims all, we sing this song.
When I'm a stage manager in a theatre, you never see the audience. The front of house staff tell the audience when to come in, and they get them out, and you stay backstage. You can hear a few laughs, but it's not really important to the running of the show. Whereas on this one, the audience want to linger on a scene across the river, and you're expecting to cue out the sound. You can tell when they like it, because they'll stay and watch, or they'll move on quickly. And watching what works for them helps to appreciate the show.
Pilgrims, to my left, to your right, over there, you will see the plinth of Wales. Now, we must move forward in time and place to tell a different kind of a ghost story. Yes, pilgrims, it's time to tell the tale of the notorious Ghost Runner. And cue the music! This way, pilgrims!
They go really not knowing what to expect, and when they find that it's comedy and there's a lot of warmth about it, and nobody's going to humiliate them in any way unless they want to be totally humiliated, they just have a real good time.
Very good. I forget his name.
Yes, Ivor.
Ivor. Yes, yeah, Ivor Crab. Yes, very good. I think yes.
You've no idea where the play ends and everything else begins. We saw 3 swans down there, and I'm sure they're actors with hats on their heads. And the dog was amazing, and then there were 2 little kids who were just from the audience. It's really wonderful.
Hey, big waiter! Hey, big waiter! Hey, big waiter! Catch a little fish like me. Ow! Come on, honey. Come and get your cod. I hope you don't batter your cod. Come on, honey. Over here. I won't bite. Hey, big waiter. Let me take you home for tea. Ow, scored.
It would be easier if there were more people stewarding the audience. I mean, last night's audience was too large, I felt, for the piece of work, and there weren't enough stewards to encompass that number of people, and the stewards weren't direct enough in dealing with the problem when it occurred.
We've got audience joining on all the way through, which you can't really stop them being a free performance also, which makes it quite tricky.
My pony and the whole week's pay. Shame in the raven, far away to sea. You rise up early in the King's Navy. Jump to the tarboy, fetch the hickory. Shame in the raven in the King's Navy.
believe it was so tense. The arrows in the quiver, they practiced all their slaughtering through heart and through the liver. The Welsh were on the one side, the English on the other, and on the signal, go berserk! They laid into each other. Oh, you are listening to me.
Yeah. Oh, it's all the gags, the street theatre, the audience participation. One of my other favourite parts is playing a knight and waving a sword around and getting the audience to reenact the Battle of Castle Cliff, which is just great fun every night. And I've found about Herefordians amazingly willing to go for it. It's just touching the child in every human being that goes to the theatre.
And all was still. Darkness. No arrows yet in the quiver. When Sir Fonteldork came up to Sir Evans and stabbed him in the liver. Go on then.
Now King Offa proposed to Quendreda, and off to the altar he led her. At the sight of his ring, they went...
Controlling the audience is not an easy job on this piece of work, partly because they're not confined within a physical space, and partly because you're stewarding that number of people around the stations, and that presents a set of problems which can be dealt with but have proved difficult.
Sometimes they're not quite sure how to react to some of it, and you know, they are asking, was that part of the show, or is it just happening tonight? And I mean, if they think it's not part of the show, I pretend to be ignorant of it as well. You know, sort of say, you know, it's a unique experience. And just say, of course, there's the whole thing about live theatre is unique. If you've got the kind of security of a stage and an auditorium, the audience knows how to behave. It knows when to be quiet and it knows when to clap. It doesn't actually happen in this.
Depends how many courses a course, how many bags you can drag into one meal. I had the most disgusting fillet kale yesterday night, drizzled with a light mist of coulis de prune. Oh well, keeps you regular, I suppose. Please yourself. Mind you, I think old Michel Foucault got it wrong, don't you? Because to me, discourse means sort of roundabout meandering, a bit of a chat. Whereas to him, it's more normatively structured clusters of contextual thematic features. Is that your trouble, sir? You over there? Oh, I think it is. Don't last long, those existentialists. Mind you, now Camus, he made an marvellous croissant, did Camus. Never had your dough work that long, sir. Or you either. Or is Mia a bit pulp around the old cuisine, eh? Mia culpa? Hey, that reminds me of a joke. Why have women got such small feet? So they can get nearer the sink.
Well, Molly, I'm afraid we must be getting on now.
The piece of work would not be the piece of work without that input from both the senior youth group and the junior youth group, Pandemonium and the choir, particularly the senior youth group, whose kind of input to the piece has been exemplary, I think, in terms of them as performers. I know the senior youth group have loved doing it and really enjoy performing because they have their characters, but they're also improvising, and they're very good improvisers, and that's what they enjoy doing, so I know that they like doing that. I think the junior youth group who do the Nell Gwyn song, I think they've enjoyed working as a group on it, and they enjoy performing and singing live with the Janine.
All the students have been incredibly keen, incredibly enthusiastic and spot on. I know from speaking to Gary, I mean, he just asked them to do things, a lot of devising work and giving them a situation. And I just imagine most people would say, you know, what do you want about? You know, you want me to play a tennis match, am I not using balls? Or, you know, give a commentary on a football match with, whatever it's been, whatever they've been asked to do, they've done it straight away without batting an eyelid. And you'd think that they'd, you know, been in the business for years and years. I think everybody has been incredibly impressed.
Well, it was not so very.
The show has surprised a lot of people, made them enjoy theatre more than they would expect.
I mean, just extraordinary images that Hereford won't be the same. Anybody that's seen the show that does that walk again won't quite see it in the same light.
Juice, juice, gimme, gimme juice now, Gwen. We'll both have one, and we'll have another one.
You're as juicy as a goose now, Gwen.
It's just no use.
What a load of cheeky monkeys. Everyone a birdie, king or queen. A cockney ramble on East End flunkies. All we ever do is drink and drink. So juice, juice, gimme, gimme juice now, Gwen.
We'll all have one, and then we'll have another one.
Juice, juice, gimme, gimme juice now, Gwen.
It's just no use.
We don't want the tea or coffee. We don't want the caffeine high. When the Japanese juice is in the offing,
All we want is
Right, now before you go, pilgrims, I want to say that you've been a wonderful, wonderful crowd this evening, and as an extra special treat, we've brought for you a very, very important couple all this way. They wanted to share with us this evening this magical moment. So gather a little closer, look out onto this beloved river, and you will see Brenda has come all the way from Buckhouse.
I mean, people saying things like, oh, it's like Omer Ammergau, or we should do it every year, and why wasn't ever been anything like this before, and I'd never noticed all those things that you've pointed out along the river, and no, it's been really, really, really wonderful. In fact, I haven't had anyone who's even had a lukewarm response. It's been really good in that way.
It was really bizarre, and leapfrogging nuns. Well, where else would you see that? No, it was good. It was really good fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, the bit when the ghost runner ran off and the chap said he's going off into infinity. Oh, that was great.
Do you know what I actually thought was the most wonderful and interesting were the ordinary bits of people walking along that weren't in it. Like there were some nightclubbers going along here who just looked so wonderful because they weren't part of it and they were all in their best gear. And just as we came over the bridge, there was a family out walking their very large shaggy dogs, all kind of looking rather amazed. And those bits for me were the sort of highlights of the whole thing.
I think it's very interesting. It's wonderful. It's really, really good. It's really entertaining.
Problem and an advantage, you know, by being as we are, new theatre works. Everything by definition is new, so in a sense we're reinventing the wheel or creating the wheel or whatever each time, and no one's ever done anything like this before, so it's just bound to be fraught with huge problems. And you know that, well, I have the confidence, I hope, now to feel sure in the end something rather magnificent is going to come out of it.
Where the young boys lay, a red moon shines on the straits of Dover. Raise the jack when the Frenchman's loose. Rise up singing like the old wild goose. Shaving the raven far away to sea. You rise up early in the King's Navy. Jump to the tar, boy, fetch the hickory. Shaving the raven in the King's Navy. Shaving the raven far away to sea. You rise up early in the King's Navy. Jump to the tar, boy, fetch the hickory. Shaving the raven in the King's Navy. I shave the raven